Hello, my name is Brian McKenzie, and I am your student's math teacher this year at Trauber Junior High. Just making this video for those of you who might not be able to make it to curriculum night this year. That way you can kind of still get the same information. You can kind of put a face with the name and kind of know what to expect for your student this year and how to get in touch with me. So my contact information is there. The easiest way to get a hold of me during the school year is with email, but you're always welcome to give me a call and leave me a voicemail, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Very quickly for me, this is my 15th year teaching here at Trauber. I've taught a little bit of science, but for the last 14 years I've taught math. This year I teach both 6th and 7th grade math. My wife over here on the right is a kindergarten teacher this year over at Lakewood Creek Elementary School. Here are my twins, Kate and Owen. They started first grade at Lakewood Creek Elementary School, so they go to the same school as my wife. And then over here on the left is my daughter Leah. She's actually a 7th grader here at Trauber, so she's going to school here with me and going through the same things and learning all the same things that your students are as they navigate junior high. For 6th grade, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I'll leave this up for you just to kind of give you a brief overview of what we will be covering. Right now we're starting on our decimals part of the unit. We've been working on adding, subtracting, multiplying, and this week we're going to jump into dividing with decimals. But we'll kind of work through units 2 and units 3 will take us to about mid-year. And then units 4, 5, 6, and 7 will be how we finish out second semester. But a good way of thinking about 6th grade is it really hits all the foundational parts from elementary school, fractions, decimals, basic geometry and that kind of stuff. And then we start to introduce them to some of the pre-algebra or algebra-based things like distributive property, having variables and that kind of stuff in their problems. And then we hit statistics and graphing one more good time because they won't see that here for a little while. A little bit about my classroom. These are some of my priorities or some of the things I aim for. Obviously the collaboration piece with social distancing and the mask and stuff, they're still able to work in groups and still able to talk with partners, but obviously we're still keeping our distance where we can. I like to have them be able to explain their thinking, so they're really going to be forced to not only show their work, but also be able to write out and explain it in words. The better they can explain that to somebody else, the better they can show their thinking, the more foundational and more concrete their understanding of the material is. If they're just giving me an answer, it's really hard to know how they got there or to be able to communicate that with someone else on how they got to an answer. The biggest part I want to talk about is something called a flipped classroom. And this is something I've actually been doing for years, but it fit in nicely with the switch to remote learning last year. But in a traditional classroom, we would spend class time taking notes and going through a lesson and kind of learning things together. And then their homework would be to go and practice those skills. In a flipped classroom, we kind of flip those two things around. So as the year gets going, we tried their first one here today in class, is their homework some nights will be to watch an instructional video that I've created. So it's the same lesson I would have taught in class, but they are kind of watching it on their own for homework. They're taking notes and following along with examples, but the nice part is that they can move at whatever pace they're comfortable with. If they're ready to move a little quicker, they can with the video. If they need to stop and pause a lot to be able to write things down and not worry about missing information, they can pause me as many times as they need to. If they miss something or something didn't make sense or they got distracted, they simply hit rewind and they can hear that example all over again. But it allows them to kind of move through the material and learn the material kind of at the pace that fits best for them. They can always come back and rewatch videos later on, but it's a resource for them to be able to kind of learn at their own pace. Then what we'll do the next day in class is now we're ready to practice it or we're ready to extend it and apply it to new situations, but they get to do that with me there in the classroom. So instead of trying to do their homework all by themselves, they get to do it with their classmates and with their peers, working together in groups or asking each other questions, but then I'm also there to support them as well. So they're not kind of doing it on their own or with limited help, depending on whether they're doing in study hall. This way they're kind of getting to do the practice where they can get the most support and help. So it's a little different. You might hear my voice from your kitchen table on occasion as they're working on assignments, and it'll be something we get into more here in the next couple of units, but something to kind of be watching for. For homework in math, we will have homework once we kind of get into the flow of things every 3 to 4 times a week. It won't necessarily be every night, but it'll be more nights than not. We simply can't get through as much as we would like to just with our class time. But homework on an average shouldn't be no more than 15 to 20 minutes. A lot of students are going to get it done during their study hall time if they have one. They might finish early with lunch and be able to get in a little bit of work time, or may need to do a little bit of work when they get home in the evenings. But I try to keep it short just because I know they have lots of other obligations for their time. But the homework is designed as one of two things. Either it's watching a video, so it's preparing them for the next day. They're not expected to be experts after watching one of those video lessons, but they should have a handle on it, and then we'll kind of go over questions and things the next day. Or if it's some practice problems, it's meant to be practice. They're not expected to be perfect. They're not expected to get them all right. It's their practice of what we've just been learning. So because it's not truly assessing their learning, it's just their practice and preparation, homework is not counted towards their overall grade. Their grade is going to be determined on things like their tests and quizzes, things where they've had an opportunity to learn it, they've had an opportunity to practice it, to get the support and help that they need, and now the tests and quizzes is their opportunity to kind of show me what they really know. The best way as parents to kind of keep up on things is both in Google Classroom and in Tyler 360. Google Classroom, quite honestly, will be your best opportunity. My strongest suggestion is I know as parents you can sign up for Google Classroom and kind of get like a weekly report. That's great, but it really doesn't let you see the day-to-day of what's going on and be able to see their work. So my suggestion is, and how I do it with my daughter, is on my phone I have Google Classroom and I actually log in under her account. So that way I can pull up her classes, I can see her work, I can log in and see whether she's getting things turned in on time. I can see what might be coming up for her, but that way I can keep tabs on making sure she's doing her work properly. In Google Classroom, when you log in, there's a little to-do function. I have an arrow to it here on the left. It's a great way for both you and the student to keep track of what they need to do. If they click on that to-do on their main screen in Google Classroom, it lets them know of any assignments that they have for any of their classes. It's kind of a one-stop shop for everything. When they click on to do, it brings them into here. It'll let you know what do they need to be working on this week. If a teacher has posted things early in the week and then they need to have them completed by a certain date. But along the top here, you'll see where the word missing is. That's a great place for them or for you to go and click, and then they can look and see, are they missing any assignments for one of their classes? What needs to get caught up? What needs to get turned in? Once or twice a week, I'll update those scores from Google Classroom. It kind of gets pulled into the Tyler 360 program. So you can always check Tyler to see if they're missing anything, but that's always a couple days behind, just because I want to give them time to get the work done. Then they get it turned in, and then I need to go in and take a look at it and be able to give them some feedback or let them know if they need to fix something. And then those scores are brought into the Tyler system. So just know that Tyler is always just a little bit behind. If they do catch up on something or turn in some missing work, I'll update that as quickly as I can in Google Classroom, but it does not automatically show up in Tyler. So they may have turned in a missing assignment for me. I'll update in Google Classroom, but it may be another day or two before I've synced things with Tyler again for you to be able to see that it's turned in there. So the best place and the most up-to-date place to check to see how they're doing and whether things are turned in is that Google Classroom. And then the last little bit, ways for them to get help or to be successful here in math. One is just to be an active participant during class. Participate in the lessons, be active in doing the problems with us, ask questions if they need it. They can always go back and re-watch those video lessons that are posted. It's a great opportunity to review a topic or to see it again after we've practiced it. It might make a little more sense that second time. If they have questions, I always encourage them to email me, but have them be specific. Don't just say, hey, Mr. McKenzie, I don't get it. It's hard for me to know how to respond or to be able to provide them with effective feedback. If they say, hey, Mr. McKenzie, I'm working on assignment such and such, I'm stuck on problem number 3, I'm not sure what to do with this fraction, or I'm not sure what to do after this next step. Now I specifically know what they've tried, what they're working on, and where they're stuck, so I can give them more effective feedback and hopefully help them get back on track a little bit quicker. Another way to get some help is they can try to see me during their lunch or study hall period. It just depends on how it matches up with my schedule and when I have availability. Or we do have student support time the first 19 or 20 minutes of the day. There are going to be opportunities where they can get a pass from a teacher to come get some help. A lot of times we can clear up whatever their confusion is in probably 5 minutes, sometimes 10. A lot of times they just need to see another example or have somebody explain the problem one more time, and they can kind of see where they were getting tripped up, and we can get them back on track quickly and easily. And then during some assignments, I'll post an answer key for them so they can kind of check their work, or there might be a video attached to an assignment that kind of talks them through how to navigate through the assignment or what kind of things to do. Encourage them to use those. A lot of times that'll answer a lot of the questions that they have. All right, I threw a lot at you. More information will come out during the school year, but this is a kind of a brief overview. But if you have specific questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me at any point, and I'm looking forward to a great year with your student. Have a good day.